Hello. So we just wait 1 second to make sure that everybody is inside here. Thanks for being with us also for this new Palladio talk. I really appreciate that you take your time, to come here with us and talk and discuss about Palladio and its architecture. It's a nice way anyway to be in contact with you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Maria Vittoria Grassi. I am one of the owners of Grassi Pietre and I have a stone company based in Italy. I'm talking right now from my showroom here in Nanto, in our headquarters. I just want to introduce you with Giacomo, who is the mind in the back of all these discussions. And also most important is Giorgio Valentini, who is the one who will just take the lead of this one. He's talking from New Jersey, on the other side of the ocean from us. So I just want to tell you, thanks for your time. And Giorgio, I give you the word and go ahead from here.
Thank you, Maria Vittoria, and thank you for the presentation. I don't know if the most important. Giacomo definitely did a great job in presenting in preparing all of this. I'm just reading the news, but just like I said, just a few introduction. I won't be able to see you, so if you want to use the chat in the box down below. Actually, let me share the screen. I believe I haven't shared my screen yet. And in the meantime, if you want to start using that and tell us where you're logging in from and, what's the weather down there so you get more familiar with the tools, would be a great way to get you started. That being said, we're talking about Palladio Noir. It's Halloween, so we will have some trick or treat for everybody at the end. So stay focused on that, and hopefully you're gonna enjoy it. Now we start from the Rialto Bridge. We've been here, we did all the tours. I expect that those of you that were with us in the previous webinar kind of understand where we are, but later on we'll give you a little view of a map with a different position of where we'll be going. Right now, focusing on the Rialto is one of the 4 bridges that cross the Grand Canal. But back then it was the only bridge. So the Rialto is the first bridge. That's why it's so famous in Venice, and it's the biggest bridge. The very first bridge was actually built in the 1100. This is the view of one of the technically bridge, but before this one was actually made of boats, sort of put it together so that you can cross over, because Rivo Alto is an area of Venice that was highly populated and where all the trade was happening, and they had to go to the mainland, so they needed to cross the Grand Canal. So that's the need for this bridge. They did it in wood, of course, because in the 1100 there was one of the simplest way of building. But then the bridge has been, burned down and destroyed and ruined for, multiple times. So in the 1500, the municipality of Venice basically commissioned the stone bridge. And the stone bridge actually was designed by Andrea da Ponte, designed and built by Andrea da Ponte. But at the competition attended and participated also Palladio, which is our mainstream of this webinar series, but as well as Michelangelo and Sansovino. So a lot of prominent figure of the time. And like any projects, like today, but even back then, he had these issues in being built, difficulties. First of all, for the engineering of it, it was one of the very first bridge with such a big arch and, spanning. This was actually the design, the project from Palladio. And this, in the previous webinar, we saw this is a drawing by Canaletto. But this is how the bridge looks today, and how it's been built. And what happened, the legend says that, like I said, there was a lot of challenges and a lot of issues in building it. And occasionally, especially at night, things started to fall. So he was saying, Antonio was saying that all this building, all this work during the day was kind of destroyed during the night. So eventually one night decided to hide somewhere and see what was going on. And immediately after a crumble, he was hearing this creepy laughing, and he discovered that basically was the devil destroying the bridge. And the devil wanted to have a very high price to let him finish the bridge. Antonio back then needed to complete because he needed the money, like suppose like any architect or everybody. And he also has his wife pregnant. So even more was concerned about money and his lifestyle and securing for his family. So he accepted this deal, and that's actually how, I don't know if it's the same in English, but in Italian we said that you sell your soul to the devil in order to have something done. So that came from here. And ironic, of course, immediately as he struck the deal with the devil, the project got completed in no time. Now, the deal was that the devil was taking the life of the first living creature that was crossing the bridge. So what Antonio devised was to get his foreman, a rooster, and have the roosters cross the bridge. As soon as the devil realized that he was going to get cheated, he transformed himself into another helper, and he ran to his wife and said that he had an accident on the bridge. So the wife fell into the trick, and the wife was the one that crossed the bridge first. So of course the wife died, and together with the unborn child. And for many years, if you were going under the bridge, you were hearing a small child crying or coughing or sneezing. And until basically gondoliers say, bless you. And eventually those rumors and noises and creepy sounds disappeared. And basically the legend said there was the child that needed a gesture of attention and compassion. So as soon as the gondolier give this blessing, the legend sort of disappeared. The second one is the palace in the Palace Ducale, which is in San Marco Square. And again, I expect that pretty much all of you, pretty much who has been in Venice, who has seen something in Venice, recognize where it is. And it's right in front of the lagoon. We saw this also in the previous webinar when we talk about San Giorgio, which is the church that you see it on the other side. The peculiarity of this palace, of course, are all these columns, and you see the columns here kind of look the same. And then I admit I never pay attention until Giacomo actually came up with this slide. There are two columns in the center that are of a different stone. So you can see that these are red, actually they look of pink with the background being so white, but these are from Rosso Asiago, versus everything else. Almost all of Venice has been built with Pietra d'Istria, which is a whiter beige stone. Very similar also to the Pietra di Vicenza that we are using, which Palladio used primarily for Vicenza and Verona. Again, was important back then to use stone. Nowadays, I suppose, but nowadays it's easier to transport stone back and forth and across the globe. Over there, of course, what you find locally is what you tend to use. So anyway, the legend here says that these are red because is where the aristocrat were hanged. So this is the blood of the aristocrat versus all the other were hanged in the other columns. And this is another little story about the, you can see that there's pretty different the colors. So again, who knows whether it was done it on purpose or was like this. Still on the palace, this is the view that we have today. But back in the time, actually, this promenade was not here. The palace was going straight into the water, into the lagoon. And one of the, in this, we can see the promenade, actually the colonnade behind the promenade. And another trick that was happening with the people that were in the prison, and you will see later on, the prison is right next door to the Doge Palace, was that if you want to save yourself from, your condemnation, I don't know how to say it now in English, you had to go around the fourth column with your hand tied up. And it was tricky because, as you can see here, the fourth column is not really aligned with all the other columns. So most of the people were falling into the water. And you can see that you were literally had to stand on this little ledge that you have. Apparently, nobody ever survived. Nobody ever made it. And this is, again, another of the creepiest things of Venice. Of course, the Bridge of Sights, Ponte dei Sospiri, this is the connection between the Doge Palace and the prisons. We'll see probably better in this picture. But what is interesting is that it was built by Antonio Contin, son of Bernardo Contin, which is the grandson of Antonio da Ponte, the same guy that built the Rialto Bridge. So even here, things seems to be remaining into the family. Another interesting part is that the prisons were the very first in the world to have a building built for the purpose of a prison. Before, the prison was sort of a cell where you were locking people up. This is the very first building exclusively for prisons. Of course, the sights, the Bridge of Sights, is because the prisoner, they were crossing from the court, which is the Doge Palace, before going into the prison. They were seeing the lagoon for the very last time, and they were basically, citing a sort of a sign of discomfort because they could not see anymore this view. And they know that once you're crossing this bridge, you only get out, as a dead body. Ironically, this bridge can only be seen from this little canal. So typically from this bridge, or from I can't remember the name of it, or from the bridge behind it. This actually is one of the few things that are very much hidden. This is the map and the aerial view that I kind of promised because, like I said, I always been visiting Venice as a tourist. I don't really live in it. Even when I was living in Italy, I was living like 2-3 hours away. So it's sort of like a 1-day trip or 2 days at the most. And typically, I suppose everybody like you, that if you've been to Venice, you start at the train station and then you take the Vaporetto through the Grand Canal, or maybe you're walking through the Calli. And you typically tend to go to San Marco Square because, of course, it's a place that you need to see. But there are so many different places in Venice that are kind of hidden gems. Some of them we see in the previous webinar, and I'm adding a few in this one here. So just to give you a sort of an idea of where we are, the train station is kind of down here. And the typical route is like you go through here, you cross, sometimes actually we have a bridge here. So you cross, you can come this way, cross the Rialto. So number one is the Rialto Bridge. And you can see that the San Marco Square is not that far away. It's actually walking distance. But there are nice spots all around Venice, even here. Lido, I have to admit, I've never been to Lido, and this is on my to-do list next time. And so I mark all these numbers here of what we have been talking. So number one was the Rialto Bridge. 2 and 3 was the Doge Palace and the Bridge of Sights. Number 4, we'll go through that now, and all the way up to 9. So there are 9 different places that we're going to visit. And I took a shot here of the Google map. You can see that it's 3 hours, 25 minutes. So it's actually technically it's doable in a day, all these places. And again, sometimes even myself, I never did it. So number 4 is Sotto Portico della Corte Nuova. Venice is divided in many small section, which are, the canals, and the canals sort of defend the section from other sections. So Sotto Portico della Corte Nuova is interesting because you have this red stone, and here the legend said that it was, the red stone was due to the plague. Venice was, had the COVID 1630 apparently, which was the plague in Venice that decimated a lot of people. Remember, Venice was 140,000 people, so pretty significant for the time. I mean, 140,000 is considering a big city for European standard even nowadays. So let alone back then. Anyway, apparently, staying to the legend, in 1630, a woman called Giovanna had the appearance of the Virgin Mary that told her to paint a picture representing the image of the Virgin together with Saint Rocco, Sebastiano, and Giustina, and finally expose that on the wall of Sottoportico della Corte Nuova, which is the arch we saw in the previous slide. As soon as he did that, and in doing this, all the Sottoportico, all that section, surrounded by the canal, was actually free from the plague. So probably we should be drawing something nowadays, see if this works. And all of a sudden, the plague disappeared even from Venice, and when it disappeared completely, even this drawing disappeared just by sinking into this place. And this is why the stone turned red. Again, of course, this is Rosso Asiago, the stone from the mountain not too far from Venice. And now the legend is say to, if you're walking through this street, through this calle, don't step on it because it's bad luck. Another legend say that to step on it because it's good luck. So I don't know. Just be careful when you're going on that and pay attention if you're doing, and you decide whether to step on it or not. Going into the next, the fifth place is the Lazzaretto. Lazzaretto is the first containment for diseases in history. This is an island with a building completely dedicated to that, and that was done in the 1420. For the first time was built. But then when the Doge Francesco Foscari lost 4 of his 11 children, that's when he decided to dedicate it completely to isolation and send them everybody that was sick or suspected to be contagious. And this, of course, is the one of the main reasons how Venice saved himself from the plague. Moving forward, this is on the Grand Canal, so a lot of you that have taken the Vaporetto definitely have seen it, but it might be sort of blending with many prestigious and amazing buildings that are on the canal. And this is Cadario. Cadario apparently is a haunted house. And I don't know how many people are pointing when you're doing your tour to this story, but it's actually a very interesting story that comes all the way to our days. Cadario was first built by Pietro Lombardo in 1479. Commissioned by Giovanni Dario, and it was a wedding gift for the wedding of his daughter that was given in spoils to Vincenzo Barbaro. So what is interesting is that everybody that owned this building died of a tragic death in one form or another. And that's why this is how you call it, a chiseling on the stone, Urbis Genio Johannes Darius in Latin, which stands for Giovanni Dario in honor of the city. Sorry, I didn't mean to change the slide. Was transformed in Sub Ruina Ingenius Genero. I'm born under an insidious ruin. This is basically what the legend is saying. And it started from the Englishman Rawdon Brown, who sold it 4 years later. He needed the money, and he died in a car accident. After that, there was a Christopher Lambert, one of the rock band, the manager of the rock band The Who. So again, we're talking about nowadays, that started using a lot of drugs while he was living in the house, and he also died of a tragic death. It was then sold to Fabio Ferrari, another very rich tradesman, who, was dead, actually was killed in the house, and then involving financial cracks. Gardini. Gardini was in the 1970s, I think. I mean, I still recall, and I remember in the news, was a very wealthy businessman from Venice. He bought the house. He actually founded not the Luna Rossa, but Il Moro di Venezia was a boat that competed in the America's Cup. It was the first one to bring Italy to the America's Cup. So definitely was very wealthy. And he was, he took his life. I don't even recall how, but I think on the boat. So after that, even Woody Allen was considering buying the house. And apparently because of this legend, he declined and eventually never did it. So I try to look on Zillow how much the house worth, but it doesn't disclose it. And I don't know, if I were about to sell it, to buy it. Even if, anyway, these are some of the incisions that you see in the, in the historic villages, palaces in Venice. And this is an example of what we can do nowadays. And I was yesterday, last night, up with some friends to a dinner downtown Manhattan, and we had to go to a hotel nearby that had a very interesting fireplaces. So ironically, how things from the past and what we presented, it actually blends in with what I did just last night. These are other examples of the fireplaces. We go to Tintoretto. The house of Tintoretto, I kind of lost track of the number. I apologize, but I think it's the 6th or the 7th of the places that I'm taking you today in the map that I showed you before. According again to some of the legend, first of all, was an Italian painter called Jacopo Robusti, citizen of the Republic of Venice. Actually was one of the greatest exponent of the Venetian painting and the mannerism. But his name, Tintoretto, actually came from his father, that his profession was sort of a dyer of silk and fabrics. So that's why Tintoretto. And these are some of his painting. What is very famous is for his depth and perspective. He was one of the first painters to invent this kind of painting. That's why he's so famous. And his house actually is pretty famous too. I don't know if it has to something, definitely related to his capability in paintings, but definitely in this house you find these on the wall, on the outside, you find this little statue of Hercules with a club. And this happened because his daughter, and probably here Giacomo might intervene and help me out because it's a kind of a complex story to explain, but his daughter during the in preparation for the wedding had to go 10 days every morning to church and get the I don't know how to say, the Eucharistia is in Italian, I don't know the actual name in English. Is basically a little bread that you're supposed to be blessed and you eat in at the church. So instead of doing that, on the way to the church, the daughter saw an old lady, and the old lady told the daughter to basically save all these Eucharistia and take them home and save it in a nice place so that something's going to happen to her. So the daughter started to follow this, of course, by without telling the father. But the 9th day had to retrieve them so that he could bring them to the old lady, and she hid them behind the animals. And the animals were too lazy, so she had to have the help of the father to get them out. And when the father found out, he knew that the old lady was sort of a witch. And that's why, with another, again, a trick, he got the witch inside the house. And when the witch realized that it was disguised, that he basically disappeared. And in disappearing, he rushed out of the wall, leaving a hole inside the wall. And that's why the Tintoretto made this statue to cover the hole left by the witch. And as image is like you have Hercules here with a club. So if you try to come back, this is what is going to happen to you. So again, other interesting part. The 7th or the 8th, like I said, I kind of lost track now of the, is the Scuola Grande di San Marco. This we are in Campo de Santi. The school was seat of, I gotta read this because there's so many information here. I don't want to miss any, and I know there's a lot of important one. It was the seat of a brotherhood of the beaten and established. This is the first seat of the demolished church. Oh, this is a bit too much to read. I mean, it's kind of too boring. I had some part here that I wanted to keep. Where is the, it was in, okay, sorry, I missed this. This is the Cesco Pizzignani, was a skillman mason, and he used to work at the church. And he had created with his own hand some of the most beautiful perspective effect on the school. It was beginning the 1500, and the young wife of the artist, Florinda, was seized by a sudden illness that died in a short time, leaving Cesco desperate and in misery. Given that he had to save her and do everything possible, he basically sold his shop and did everything, and ended up begging at the portal of the Scuola Grande that he helped build and create. So it's a kind of an irony here also that whoever is built on a majesty masterpiece like the Scuola Grande now have to sort of beg mercy and money on the same place. And what he did, he basically, with a nail, he engraved on the side of the door the profile of the ship, because every day he saw the ship loading and unloading goods off the shores. So this is some of the chiseling that he basically did with the nail. In the same period, lived a woman who had a son from Levantine, a Jew, who became a Turkish subject, who as an international merchant enjoyed the rights granted as a foreign resident. He lived in the island of La Giudecca. The son was very often lived with his father, and like him was dressed in a Turkish way, and went to visit his mother, whom never seemed to get along very well. It is said that, in fact, the young man always violently beaten her, making her the victim of this beating. And actually, one day, he was so upset that with the knife, he basically killed and took the heart out of the chest of the mother. And he started running away as soon as he realized what he did. And he got to the steps, and in climbing the step of the church, he sort of stumbled, and the heart fell off his hand. And as soon as the heart fell, basically a voice came out of the heart, and it was the mother basically asking his son if he got hurt. So when he realized what he did, and his mother was still concerned about he just being stumbled after, has been taking his heart out of her, this is basically when he took his life too. And that's how he ended up. Next one, we go into Madonna della Salute. We are in the 1630, when the Senate of the Serenissima basically decreed the construction of this temple. Madonna della Salute is a very particular church, because it's a church but has so many peculiarity between the Christian to the Byzantine to the Jewish to the so there's a lot of different things. And Baldassare Lagena was the son of Melziker, clearly a Hebrew name, native of Moretha, which is in Valtellina. So he learned all the secret of Kabbalah from his father, and he applied this also to the church. Some of this we'll see here. First of all, the church is not the typical rectangular or cross like any Christian church, but is more the octagonal of the synagogue. Another reference to this, this very much goes around the number 8, which in Christianity sort of idolize the infinity symbols. But at the same time has a lot of number 11, which in the Jewish tradition represent God, and at the same time in the Catholicism represent the transgression of the 10th commandment. So again, there's a lot of contrast in this church, and this, you know, besides of course the marble, and there's a lot of those that, like any marble, that are pretty much in the local area. So we have the Pietra di Vicenza, the Rosso di Asiago, Pietra d'Istria, and you know, a lot of the black. We live in Venice now to go to the mainland, and we are heading to Villa Foscari. We saw these villas in previous webinars, so I don't spend too much time in talking about the architecture of the villa, but I'm sticking to the legend, also because I realize we're running out of time. Villa Foscari is also called Villa Malcontenta, and the legend is that the Barbaro, again, you know, one of the most famous people and owner of Venice, owned this villa too, married Maria Antonietta, which was a very pretty lady, but apparently not very much up to the standard of a wife. So at one point, Barbaro locked her in the villa, and she stayed there for 30 years. And the legend is saying that not even receiving food and groceries. So this is why Malcontenta, because of course she wasn't very happy to live in that place. But definitely a very interesting villa. And like I said, we went into details on the beauty of the villa before. The next one is Villa Valmarana in Nani. Also this villa, we discuss in details the architecture. I'm going to focus here more on the dwarfs. It's full of dwarfs because the legend here says that the owner had the daughter that was affected by this syndrome. So they hired the helpers, only dwarfs helpers. I can't remember how, but all of a sudden something happened and all these dwarfs basically turned into stone. And this is why now all these dwarf stones are decorating the villa. And that's why it's called now more Villa Inani than Villa Valmarana. But definitely, you know, even from an architecture and landscaping perspective, is very interesting. All these statues are made in Pietra di Vicenza, so we can definitely claim this as our stone. And, you know, explaining the peculiarity of our stone and the beauty of our stone. This is centuries on the outside, so definitely we stand in the climate. And you can see that there's quite a few of those. Now, with this, we go to Villa Barbarana, and I leave a few words to Giacomo, and then we'll go into the trick or treat later after he's over. So, Giacomo, if you want to take over from here.
Thank you. Okay, can you see the screen? Great. This is Villa Barbarana.
We can't see the screen, huh? We see.
Okay. Give me a minute.
That should be okay now.
Be okay?
Yeah. Perfect.
So this is Villa Barbaran. Then we talk already about this building. And the villa keeps some secrets too. Same for the quarries that we owe. But to find out more about legends and mysteries, I give the word back to Giorgio. Okay.
Thank you, Giacomo. Basically, what we want to do is kind of thank you for participating and kind of be faithful. I know some of you have been coming along every time we are doing it. So being Halloween, if I can share the screen, Giacomo, do you mind if I take it over again? Let me just show you, and I'm taking you to Grassi Pietre website for now, just because the Atlantic Link website is not updated yet. But we decided to create this, I don't know if you can see the screen. We decided to create this Palladio Prize by Atlantic Link, but of course in collaboration with Grassi Pietre. And the idea is to, there are these scoring points, and we're giving 1 point for everyone attending the whole webinar. So whoever did the 10 webinar, I think 11 now we did, will get 11 points. 2 points if you bring a colleague, and other points if you get in a project. The point of doing this webinar, of course, besides entertaining each other, but we're trying to dedicate the right amount of time within our capability, is also to promote our stone and to promote what can be done with our stone. So we would like to devise a system where we can promote and we can use. So whoever is using the stone, of course, on a project is going to get the most points. And at the end, we're going to have a ranking, and the 3 winners, we want to give you an award trip to Italy, to Venice and Vicenza, and to the places that we discuss in all this webinar. We have to finalize all the details because there are some complexity, but again, we sort of would like to keep it pretty simple and at the same time straightforward and fair to everybody. Again, the goal is to have fun at the same time and do business. The awarding will be done in June, and the idea is to have this trip in September. September, hopefully the pandemic is over. I hope way before that, but you understand that we need to plan ahead before we can do this. So we want to give ample time, and we count on doing more of these webinars so that there's more opportunity to gain more points. I hope you guys appreciate that. We have a few other things that we are studying, and we are keeping track of your attendance with the email that you provided. Some of you use the office email, some use the personal. We'll try to be as diligent as possible. Hopefully keep on using the same email, otherwise we will lose, your tracking. And if you can give us also your email address, your physical address, maybe the office or whatever you want, at the end, we have some goodie bag that we will be happy to mail to everybody, because we feel that we cannot take all of you to Italy. Definitely budget doesn't allow, but we would like to thank everybody that participated to have sort of a little reminder from what we have been doing, what we are doing this year. So this is pretty much what I have to say. I don't know if Giacomo, Maria Vittoria want to add something else. I'll stop my sharing. And if you have any comment or suggestion, like we said, we are still in the planning phase of this, and there's certainly better way of doing it. You're more than welcome to suggest it.
Thank you, Giorgio. Just want to say, of course, these are 3 free tickets, but anyway, if anybody of you is in Italy for any chance, feel free to give us a call, drop us an email, and come here and visit the showroom and the quarries. That's open to everybody. That's normal. And we're planning this one. Giorgio has been a great contribution on this one as idea and everything. And let's see, you know, we just think ahead, because right now it's a little bit depressing to be in Italy. We are half locked down again, half only, thankfully. Just hope for the best, you know, and think about your next trip to Italy. It would be nice.
Great.
There are just some comments here. People just say it's very interesting presentation. Thank you. And well, I just hope really to see you personally also as soon as possible. And in the meantime, we keep in touch for the next webinar for sure. Thank you for everybody. I think we're okay. That's all, Giorgio. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Jacob, I don't know what is going to come out of his hat again, but so far, you know, you kept on raising the bar. Be careful.
Grazie a tutti.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you and bye-bye.
Maria.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Grazie mille.
Thank you.
I think somebody is asking if we have recording of the previous webinar. Yes, of course. Everything is in our website. Under download, you just have to register, and there you can just access all these webinars that are in the YouTube, basically, but they are covered. I mean, so you have to pass through our website to see that. And I think also in Atlantic Link website, you have all the YouTube connection. Okay.
That was me asking. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
My pleasure, Max. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.